Bonjour! Hello! It's Miss Fancy Nancy again. How are you today? I'm all dressed up and I still have no place to go. I still have to stay home. I still haven't seen my friend Bree, but I will soon, I hope. Hi Bree, how are you? Of course, I have my Fancy Nancy doll to keep me company. So today I thought I would read you a story called Poet Extraordinaire. And of course, it's by my favorite author, Jane O'Connor, who, of course, writes about me. So, of course, the story is about me. It's called Poet Extraordinaire. Our class is doing a survey, which means you ask a bunch of people the same question. What is your favorite poem? And you write down your answer. Here's my sister's favorite. I asked Miss Glass if nursery rhymes could be poems, and she said absolutely. And this is hers. Diddle diddle dumpling, my son John went to bed with his stockings on. One shoe off and one shoe on. Diddle diddle dumpling, my son John. I took this photo. My sister's pretending she's John. You can kind of see it hiding under there. My dad's favorite is Blowin' in the Wind by Bob Dylan. It's a song, and the lyrics, which are the words, also count as poetry. Miss Devine, my neighbor, grows all kinds of flowers. Her favorite poem is the very first one she learned when she was a little girl, and it's called Dig In by George Shannon. It goes like this. Dig a little, dig a lot, dig a brand new garden spot. Plant a little, plant a lot, plant the seeds and bowls full you brought. Wait a little, wait a lot, wait much longer than you thought. Pick a little, pick a lot, share the best bouquet you've got. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Cute. My mom loves poems that tell a story. She read Annabel Lee by Edgar Allan Poe to me. It's about a beautiful princess who has died, and the guy who will go on loving her forever. The poem is so sad, it's tragic. You might even want to cry from this one. It's just, oh. I called my grandpa. He likes limericks. They are funny poems that always have 5 lines that rhyme. And this is the one I like the best from my grandpa. A circus performer named Brian once smiled as he rode on a lion. They came back from the ride, but with Brian inside and a smile on the face of the lion. Oh, we don't know who wrote it. It was anonymously written, and that means we don't know. It's just a fancy word for unknown author. Oh, let me show you pictures. There you go. Our poetry, tree, cute. Today we make a poetry in our classroom. Each paper leaf will have a poem that will be composed, something that means you wrote yourself. We're going to read our poems on Family Day. I haven't written mine yet, but I want it to be really great. Robert was worried his poem was too short, but look what Miss Glass wrote on the back of his leaf. And his poem is Pizza Pie by Robert. Peter eats a lot of pizza. And Miss Glass said, Robert, I like how your first line puts 2 words together to rhyme with pizza. Did you know that 2 lines of poetry are called a couplet? So he did write a poem. It's a short one, but it's a poem. Here's Bree's poem, Horrible Hiccups by Bree. I love this one. Hiccups make my tummy jump in and out. I hold my breath till I turn red. It didn't work. I hate hiccups. Miss Glass showed everyone how to make a poem out of your names. You write the letters in a column, and then for each letter, you think of a word that describes something about you. And this is Claire. C, cookie crazy. L, lovable. A, artistic. R, runny nose. She was having a cold at that time. A, American. And that's how she can do it. You can do that too. I could even do that with my name. That's pretty easy, but it's fun. And you think about what your personality too. Palace of poetry. That's hard to say. Say that 3 times. Maybe you already know that Bree and I have a club. We look for insects and other interesting stuff in nature. Now, after school, we go to our clubhouse to write poetry. We call it the Palace of Poetry. And there's our Palace of Poetry. Inspiration. We don't talk much, but sometimes we put the radio on. Music often gives us inspiration. It's a fresh, fancy word for getting good ideas. And what you need is your music, You need a notebook, a glittery notebook to write in, a pencil with a plume, a bouquet of flowers, and of course, plenty of refreshments, cookies and lemonade or juice or whatever you like. Bree wrote this poem today. Now she can make another leaf for the poetry at school. How come writing poems is so easy for Bree? This is the one she wrote. Fighting with My Brother by Bree. I wasn't ready to read to Freddie or play a game, so he called me a name. I told my mother. She got mad at my brother. Now Freddie was sad, and I felt bad. We made up that night. That was the end of the fight. Later, I tell my mom, I am stuck. I can't think of anything good to write. Everything just sounds so stupid, which is not a good word, but she said. My mom says, take a relaxing bath, close your eyes, and I bet an idea will pop right into your head. So that's what I do. I add a lot of bubble bath for inspiration, so I get a lot of bubbles. I stay in the bathtub for a long, long time. When I get out, I am very clean, and my fingers are all pruny, but I still do not have a good idea for my poem. Writer's block. When I tell Miss Glass about being stuck, she says, oh, that's called writer's block. It happens to everyone. It'll go away. Here's what we talk about. A poem doesn't have to rhyme, right? No, that's right. Are there other rules? Well, there are some kind of rules for poems, but lots of poems don't have rules, and that's why we write them the way we like to. And it's fun. Then Miss Glass says, you're a creative girl. I'm sure you will write a wonderful poem. I'm not so sure about that. After school, I want to go straight to the Palace of Poetry, but I can't. We have to find a birthday present and card for my grandfather. There are so many birthday cards, it's hard to choose. Nearly everyone has a poem inside. There are also cards for special people, like a best friend or someone who's suddenly sick. And I got an idea that is superb. At home, I sit down with my notebook and my pen with the plum, and little by little, I get inspiration. And this is what I wrote. It's called Guess Who? Her earrings dingle dangle. Her hair is never in a tangle. Who can it be? It's Miss Glass. If I have any troubles, they pop like bubbles when I go talk to Miss Glass. I think I'm a lucky girl. I have the best teacher in the world. You know who it is? It's Miss Glass. On Family Day, I read my poem. I read with a lot of emotion. That's fancy for feelings. Later, Miss Glass whispers, I am so flattered. What you wrote, Nancy, it's called an ode. That's a poem that says what is special about someone. An ode, how fancy. Anyway, I find a poem I love. I put it in this book I'm making. It's called Favorite Poems of Nancy M. Clancy. I really don't have a middle name, but it looks fancy if I put a middle name in the middle. And I have a whole bunch of poems that I've made up or I found in books and stuff. And that's called Poet Extraordinaire. Years ago, I made up my own poem to my mom for Mother's Day, and this is how it goes. Roses are red, violets are blue. Happy Mother's Day. I love you. And that's with mine. And I hope you enjoyed our book, and I hope that you maybe get some inspiration to write some poetry of your own. Until next time, au revoir.